Hello, you have stumbled onto another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we strive for ways to achieve those two goals and we invite our friends on to help us. And today I'm really excited to be joined by Beth Blaney. She is the entrepreneur and owner of Beth Blaney and Associates, and she is going to teach us how not to lose our shirts when we start our entrepreneurial endeavor, right? Beth, thank you so much, Beth, for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
So tell me, just like give me a background or an overview of your business, how you got involved in it, and what your favorite part of the business is.
Sure. So I own a bookkeeping company, um, and I love small businesses. I've always worked with small businesses. Back in the day when I worked for other people, I
That must have been a terrible day.
oh my goodness. I was sort of the jack of all trades in small businesses, doing the bookkeeping, the executive assisting, the human resources and everything. And when I got the entrepreneurial bug, I decided that I was going to go on my own. And at first I was just going to be an outsourced bookkeeper. Well, things happened, things changed, and I realized I hadn't had the entrepreneurial bug. Then I got it, and we grew exponentially. So now, we work with small businesses all over the country, helping them understand their numbers, helping them keep their books clean, make sure that it's an easy transfer when they go to their accountant at the end of the year to get their taxes done. They're not, pulling shoe boxes full of receipts.
Oh, you're not supposed to do that?
Yeah, I mean, you can. It just probably costs more.
Yeah, that's true. So actually, you bring up a point that I think a lot of people are probably confused about. What is the difference between a bookkeeper and your accountant?
Absolutely. So a bookkeeper, I like to say the bookkeeper does the day to day, right? So tracking the expenses, tracking the income, and recording that in some sort of software. Now I'm a QuickBooks Advanced Pro advisor, so I'm a huge fan of QuickBooks, but there are other systems out there. And even for small startups, you can use a spreadsheet. So that's the side of the bookkeeper, and a lot of bookkeepers are also there to advise. They can help you with all kinds of things, from understanding your reports, understanding your numbers, all the way down to systems and processes, because we see it all. So, what are you using to onboard new clients? And does that connect with QuickBooks? And what are you using to schedule? And how are you collecting money? And those kinds of things. Whereas the accountant, I like to say tax accountant, because an accountant is really kind of, can be a lot of things. Your tax accountant is generally a CPA or an EA, which is enrolled agent. And they are there to prepare the taxes and to advise you on the bigger picture in terms of what your numbers mean and how you can utilize them to grow and to scale, and how to best appropriate that money to benefit your taxes. So we work very closely together.
Yeah. And how do you know, like if you start a small business and let's say you're just doing something really simple, like selling something you've made on Etsy, or, something that's just really just dipping your toe in the water kind of thing. How do you know when it's time to sort of say, okay, I'm getting in a little over my head. I need to, because I have a feeling that this is why I'm asking this question. I have a feeling that people might hire a bookkeeper later than they ideally should, so that they have a mess going on and they maybe don't realize. I know my boyfriend's daughter was doing making some wooden signs, and she's just like, oh, I just can't afford to keep doing it. And I know, I mean, I feel so instinctively that if she would have had a bookkeeper who could have helped her to understand, what she was actually spending on things and how things were going to go, that she would have been able to stay in business. And I don't think she's unique in that way.
Right. No, absolutely. Unfortunately, we do see a lot of people who came in who should have probably come in sooner. But does that mean that everybody needs a bookkeeper? Absolutely not. However, does everybody need a bookkeeper in their corner? 100%. So what I like to tell people, I'll be the first person if I get a discovery call from somebody who's really, really small, just starting out, has some questions. I'll be the first person to say, hey, look, you don't need a bookkeeper yet. Here's what you can do. And I'll provide them with a spreadsheet that basically creates an income statement or a profit and loss. And as long as they're following those basic rules at that point, then great. But it's not a spreadsheet that they, pulled off the internet. It's not a spreadsheet that they, just made up and said, here's income, here's expenses. So in that regard, having a bookkeeper, even if you find someone to do some training or to do some initial setup, and then maybe have them check in once a quarter, at those very, very beginning stages, I think that's really important to make sure you're off on the right path. Like, for example, I'm often made fun of because I'm known as the don't commingle lady. So I vehemently feel or know that you need to keep your business and your personal funds separate. And I'm sure you've talked about that before. And it's incredible how many times I see people come to me who've said, oh, well, I didn't get a separate bank account because I didn't really know how much I was going to sell or if this was going to really turn into a thing. Listen, most bank accounts are free. If you're a sole proprietor, you're just doing this for fun, you don't know where it's going to go. Well, it might go someplace. Just set up an additional bank account at your bank. And it doesn't have to be in the business's name, which it generally can't unless you are an LLC. And start using one of your credit cards only, and only for the business expenses. Don't cross them over or commingle. And that in itself is probably the best advice that I can give to any startup business owner, entrepreneur. And things like that are the advice that you're going to get from a bookkeeper or an accountant if you start making that connection early. It doesn't mean that you have to hire them for, 20 hours a month to do your books.
Is there like a benchmark or a milestone that is kind of a clue that you really shouldn't go any further without hiring a bookkeeper? Is there some sort of a, like when you add your first employee, for example, is there something, a couple of events that might trigger that you're making a mistake if you don't go ahead and hire somebody?
Sure, absolutely. Hiring anybody is important. Unless you also have a lawyer that's on your side, or a tax accountant, all those people can advise you, because there's some really important stuff involved with hiring that person. Are they going to be a 1099 contractor? Are they going to be an employee? Those are things that you're not expected to know as a starting business owner. I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a benchmark. I would say, if anything, it would be that point when you get overwhelmed with the numbers. You don't know what they mean. You don't know what to do with them. And you realize that you're kind of in too deep and need some help. And again, there's so many options out there that are beyond, hiring a bookkeeper to do your monthly books.
So you mentioned QuickBooks, which is something that I've used. Is that something that you feel comfortable that, if somebody gets just get a copy of QuickBooks and then start off on that path, that will get them a good ways along before they need to call in a bookkeeper?
Yes and no. You need some training. You need to learn how to use QuickBooks. I joke that, QuickBooks kind of sells it as this like, hey, we're DIY bookkeeping, sign up and do it yourself. There are so many nuances that's why I have a job. That's why I have a company, right? So I actually teach for the Center for Women in Enterprise, which is an amazing organization for small businesses and startup entrepreneurs. They're fantastic. There's one in Massachusetts and one in New Hampshire. It's nationwide, but I don't know if every state has it. And I teach a 4-week QuickBooks intensive, which is 8 hours over the course of 4 weeks of me showing people the basics on QuickBooks. So, you could sit for days and watch video after video after video and, take classes and, watch YouTube and read all the, read all the how-tos. But if you can find a class or, a bookkeeper that you can hire to just kind of teach you the pieces that you need to know and help you get your QuickBooks set up, then you're going to be on a much, much better path than kind of flailing on your own and just trying to get it done.
Well, and also I would think the advantage of some type of face-to-face training or, whatever, maybe not face-to-face right now, but, some kind of personalized training is that not everybody's setup is going to be identical, right? It's not really a cookie cutter solution.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're doing e-commerce, then you're using, or maybe you're using something like Shopify or, you've got Stripe and then you've got PayPal. Those are more complicated. Just for a quick example, people don't generally know that they need to record their gross income through those channels, not just the money that hits your bank. And so somebody who's training you and helping you set that up is going to teach you that from the start so that you're not going back way later trying to fix everything. Because I'll tell you,
$1.82 that got taken out of your account.
Yeah. And doing it right away you have no idea how much easier it's going to be than trying to go back and fix something later. Everything is fixable, so I don't want to worry people there. But yeah, it's, there's those different types. And then there's, service providers, which are much more simple. But again, if you're using something like Dubsado or HoneyBook or 17 Hats for your onboarding and billing process, then you want to make sure that that information feeds into QuickBooks in a way that A, is accurate, and B, makes your life easier.
Yeah, so that actually brings up an excellent point. What kinds of things can we do when we're starting? Because I really honestly feel that people who are thinking that they want to start a small business, or they're thinking that they might like to do something entrepreneurial, that this whole accounting thing, like numbers are a big fear for people, right? We don't like math.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think I really feel so honestly that this is the key to success, that if you understand your numbers, you know where all your money's going, and you can get over that fear of like, okay, as you said, I'm just going to put everything in a shoebox and then let my accountant figure it out because I just don't want to know what's happening. I'm like, well, I know that there is a question coming, which is basically, I want you to demystify, if you can, so that people who are thinking of taking the plunge have a little bit more, feeling of security that they can do it. And then also maybe if you have some little pointers, like you've already been bringing out some good stuff, but any other little pointers that you can think of that, like just somebody who's thinking of starting a real small venture that they could do to make their tax life and their accounting life, their bookkeeping life just so much easier for themselves.
Sure. So I'll start by saying it doesn't have to be scary. It really, really doesn't. One of the things that you learn as you go along in your entrepreneurial travels, per se, is you start to learn what you're really, really good at. And then you start to outsource the things that you're not good at. And like I said before, outsourcing doesn't have to mean a whole ton of money. Outsourcing can mean just a little bit of help. So, even, for example, the course that I'm teaching, people walked away from that with, oh, that's it? Oh, that's what my profit and loss means? oh, well, now I know that I can, buy this program that I've been thinking about, or now I know that I probably am paying too much for all the little softwares that I have. Like, well, Canva's only $12 a month, and then Zoom's only 10, and then, Adobe's about 11. Each one of those things together is a lot. And you don't realize that if you're not looking at your books, if you're not tracking things appropriately, and then actually reviewing the items. So, in terms of demystifying, I think having that person to just kick you off and kind of help you out, just to say, okay, these are the things that you should be looking at, whether that's your accountant or a bookkeeper that you find or a course that you take. I think also those people can set up custom reports in your QuickBooks that you can then just go in and run when you want to see them. And you don't have to think about, all right, wait, where was I supposed to click and what was I supposed to add in? Those are some really nice benefits to that without having to go, again, full speed into the bookkeeping world. So yeah, I think I'm going to go back to my biggest tip. My absolute biggest tip is don't commingle. It's going to make everything easier. And, I always say that we don't want the IRS to be interested in what we're doing, right? We want them to ignore us. And if we have nice, clean books, and if we have receipts for everything, they're going to say, oh, I don't need to spend any time on that, and move on.
Yeah, it's funny. I have friends who own an inn, and then I'm a real estate agent, so I have my own business as well. And I happened to be there when they were preparing for their taxes. And my friend Tim has got he takes the receipts and he tapes them each to a separate page, and he's got them all organized. And I just thought, what's that about? It's just I put a folder that just says taxes.
Yeah. So there's so many. I actually just wrote a blog. It's at bethblaney.com/blog. And it talks about how to go paperless, what some options are. And oh my gosh, I know it sounds stressful and scary at first, but once you're paperless, oh my gosh, it's so nice. You don't have those folders or shoe boxes anywhere. You can find anything as soon as you want it. There's apps, there's all kinds of stuff that helps you keep that. And, another note on receipts is I always tell people, write on your receipts. So if you're having a meal with, a prospective client, you want to write meal with prospective client on that receipt. Okay. And then that, again, helps the process later on if you're ever audited or if anything is ever questioned.
Yeah, 3 years later, you're like, well, I don't know why I went to that restaurant.
Right, exactly, because you could be audited 6 years later.
Oh God.
I know. I know. But yeah, so I would say for biggest tips is just keep your receipts. I suggest keeping them electronic, and obviously read my blog because obviously.
No, I have to, Beth, because what you just said about being able to find everything, that's not how I imagine paperless. I imagine paperless as a whole big pile of PDFs that if I want to find something, I have to look through them all and what was this about? What was this about? So I absolutely have to read your blog.
I personally use Dropbox, and I have a naming convention for every single PDF. So I can find anything by date, by name, by amount, no matter what. If you're using QuickBooks, you can actually send your receipts to QuickBooks and attach them to each transaction so that anybody can see it. Even your accountant can see it when they go into your books at the end of the year. They say, oh, here's this receipt for the computer. Okay, great.
Wow. So I'm a dinosaur, obviously. I have to get out of the paper world and I have to come into the virtual,
Yeah.
And I think really we should talk because it's funny. I was an entrepreneur in other areas and I always realized I needed QuickBooks and stuff like that. But as we're talking, I realized that as a real estate agent, I should also have a P&L. I should also have all that stuff. So I know, I mean, gee, am I making any money selling real estate with all these expenses?
Absolutely, you should. I have clients who do real estate, and it's important, because if you're going to have any self-employment income at the end of the year, even if you have a quote regular job, it's going to be separated out on your taxes.
Yeah.
So you don't want to pay more taxes than you need to, right?
Definitely
I mean,
not.
sure, we just got this stimulus and everything, but I certainly don't want to pay a dime more on my taxes than is
No,
absolutely
exactly.
necessary. And the way to make
Exactly.
sure of that is to keep all your receipts and track them.
Yeah, well, I know that I'm not, I know that I could write off more than I do because I have so many different places where I keep receipts. Some of them, I have first I have 4 email addresses. So if someone sends me a receipt by email, each one of those email addresses has a bucket that's called taxes, which I may or may not remember to even look at or print out at the end of the year. And
I'm having
then
a little panic over here. I just need you to know that. I'm having a little bit of a panic. So what's also awesome with QuickBooks? You can take that receipt when it comes in and forward it to a special email address that's connected to you, and it puts it into your QuickBooks.
Oh yeah, we have to talk. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you would cry, or like you say, have a panic attack, or slap me upside the head or something if you came to my house and said, really? Really?
It's not even that. It's just that I feel bad. Like, your life could be so much simpler and cleaner.
Well, every year at tax time, I just get a big, lined sheet of paper, and I just start so like there'll be one that says, phone, and I'll just each month I'll put it with a little plus sign, all the things across.
Oh, that's painful. Imagine if there was a system. Imagine if there was some sort of program out there that would know that every time it sees T-Mobile, that just automatically dumps into your telephone account.
Wow, that would be amazing.
We should invent one.
Why won't someone come up with something like that?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, definitely. We need to talk.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the CWE. I wasn't familiar with them. Can you talk some more about the Center for Women in Enterprise, and any other resources that you think could be helpful for people like myself?
So yeah, the CWE is a phenomenal program where they have so many resources to help female entrepreneurs. Don't let that word scare you either. I'm sure you're learning that in this podcast here. But hey, if you're selling some stuff on Etsy, you're an entrepreneur. And yeah, so what they do is they help in all different areas. They're a nonprofit, and they'll help you write a business plan. They'll help you get a business loan. They'll help you file for your LLC if you're doing that, or get a tax ID number, all this sort of scary stuff. They have resources for social media support, for, how do I sell? How do I sell my product or my service? They have classes, they have one-on-one. You can actually get with professionals in each of the areas. It's great. So check them out online. I believe I'm not even going to say what it is. Look up CWE, Center for Women in Enterprise.
Well, and we'll put a link to it in the show notes as well,
Great.
so people can find it, and then, they can just click on it and be brought right there. And if you're not a woman, you can always go to SCORE, which has some similar stuff.
Very similar.
Yeah, Service Corps of Retired Executives, that has some similar stuff. So
I'll also throw in a little shameless plug here. I am just in the beginning stages of starting a membership program for small businesses, new solopreneurs, that is for QuickBooks support. So if you actually join my newsletter at my website, then we'll be letting everybody know when that's live. But basically, we're going to have a membership program where, there's videos, there's how-tos. They're going to be short and sweet, like, okay, this is how you add a vendor. This is how you pay a bill. And then for the next level up on the VIP membership, you'd actually get open office hours with me. So a couple hours a month, I'll just be there and available to answer any QuickBooks questions. And people can request a hot seat if they have something specific they want to go over, screen shares, etc. And then whatever time is left, people can ask their questions. So I'm really excited about that because, I was looking for a way to be able to help those small businesses who can't yet afford to have a bookkeeper come in.
That sounds like a great program.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, excellent. Very entrepreneurial idea. So I'm curious, you touched on this earlier and I didn't delve into it, but now I really want to. You said that when you left your other job, you thought you were having an entrepreneurial bug. And then when you actually got it, you realized that you didn't. Tell me what that journey was like. Tell me what happened there.
Sure. So at first it was more like, I want to work for myself and I love people and I love all the different things. And so why not be a consultant, right? And have multiple clients. So I get to, FaceTime with, in real life back then, with multiple people and have different things going on. And also, hey, if I could work 35 hours a week and make as much money as I was making when I was working 60 hours a week and, awesome. And that was really my goal. And it just kind of started growing like it's a roller coaster at the beginning. You've got a client here and then you've got kind of nothing for a while and then maybe you get another couple clients and then it's tough. And I will say thank goodness for my boyfriend because he pushed me. He knew this is what I wanted. And there were so many times, just like every entrepreneur that I know, that I just wanted to pack it all in and say, I'm just going to go back and work for somebody. This is too frustrating. I'm just going to go back and work for somebody. And he pushed me and pushed me and pushed me. And eventually I had such a full client load that I needed to bring on another person. And I was thinking, oh, she'll work like 10 hours a week, maybe tops, no big deal. Cut to 3 years later, she is now my full-time manager. And I've got a staff of 7. But what did it for me was a friend and actually a mentor of mine who is a tax accountant dragged me to this seminar. I had no idea what it was about. She just said, look, you need to come to this. I've been before, book a flight. I already have the hotel room. Let's do this. And because she was my mentor, I was sort of like, yes, whatever you say, okay. And that 3-day seminar, it was called Driven, and put on by Suzanne Evans. She's a speaker, changed my world. I walked out of that seminar with, I want to grow. I want to make money. I want to build an enterprise. I'm going to do this. And as soon as I had that mindset, the clients just started rolling in. We have grown we've probably tripled in size since that session a year and a half ago that I went to. So, you never know where it's going to lead you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
exciting and scary and all those things all together.
Oh my God, congratulations. Oh, that's so fun. It's so exciting. Because you're right. A lot of people, when they think, okay, I'm just going to put out my shingle and I'm going to get 50 clients the first day and then I'm going to be good to go forever, and they're not willing to put that work in and they're not willing to realize that, I have to leave the house or I have to get out there and meet people so that they'll know I exist. They're not all just, standing in the queue waiting for me to start my business.
Right. And, I would say to any budding business owner, network like it's your job, because right now while you're trying to get clients, it is your job. That's how people find out about you. Network. And now that everything's on Zoom,
so much easier.
You don't even have to put pants on.
Nobody knows.
I think everybody knows by now.
You look all professional from the waist up, and then down there you got your pajamas with the feet. You got
Yeah, absolutely.
your crazy sweatpants. All right.
Wait, could you see them?
So now I don't know, have we covered the kind of things that you want to talk about? Is there anything that I should have asked you that you wish I would have asked you that we didn't kind of touch on?
I don't think so. I think we hit on some good stuff.
Well, hopefully everybody now knows that they need to call you.
I don't have time.
You have to hire 7 more people.
I know. They need to join my program. That's what they need to do.
Yeah. No, but you at least, if no one else has been helped, which I'm sure they have been, but I definitely have a new way of looking at my business that, like I said, I just didn't think of it the right way. I just didn't think of it the right way. And I really do need to talk to you and get my whole stuff straightened out here. I mean,
yeah, and once it starts flowing, once you've got that sort of
foundation,
base foundation, thank you,
yeah.
Then it's just, again, unless you're doing something crazy like e-commerce and stuff like that, it's just easy. Yeah. It's amazing how it's one of those things where like starting is harder than doing. So getting it started and having that foundation and building that is hard and time consuming. But then once you have it, it's like butter.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Beth, for being here with us today. And remember, I'm going to put all of her links and resources, or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn and her website on the show notes. And I want to thank the listeners, because we were in 20 countries, and I said to the listeners, please invite your friend from another country to listen to the podcast. And we actually just added Australia. So thank you, whoever forwarded the podcast to someone in Australia. I really appreciate it. Very excited about that. But that does not let the rest of you off the hook, because we still need 29 more countries. So please get out there and forward the podcast to someone who lives in another country, and help us to get to 50, because that's my goal, to get to 50 countries by the end of the year. So, and thank you, listener, for listening. I know you got a lot out of this, and I know you're going to want to reach out to Beth and get on her calendar and get into her programs. And I guess that's it. I will see you all next week, and have a fantastic week in the meantime.